Hi, I'm Allie. Welcome back to Haven's Kitchen. Today we're going to be talking about building layers of flavor. One of the most often asked questions we get from cooking students is why their food doesn't taste like what they eat in restaurants. And some of that can be chalked up to restaurants tend to use a lot more fat like butter, a lot more acid like lemon and lime, and a lot more salt. If you start with a base of flavor and build your meal layering in flavors as you go, then you don't end up with something bland that you have to put a lot of salt on at the end to make it taste good. If you think some of these tips and tricks would be helpful for you, be sure to subscribe to see all of our future cooking videos. So I like to use soup as an example of how to build flavor, and you can take those lessons and apply them to all sorts of different dishes. All around the world, in their soups and stews, home cooks are using alliums like onions and garlic and roots like ginger and turmeric to create a base of flavor before they add in their liquid. All you need to do is saute a little bit of onion, maybe some garlic, maybe some ginger, and even one of our sauces like our harissa or our romesco to create a base for whatever it is that you're making. The next layer is going to be a liquid of some sort, usually. So that can be water, but it can also be chicken stock. It could also be coconut milk. Again, you're kind of creating layers of flavor so that you don't just have sort of like hot water with some stuff in it. If you're using meat in your soup, we always suggest browning it first, getting a good sear on it, then taking it out and using the rendering after you've browned the meat in the pot to then, again, create more flavor. And one thing you want to make sure of is that you think about timing. So kale, for example, is a hardier green than a baby spinach. So you're going to give it a couple more minutes of cooking time. Sometimes people just dump everything into the pot at the same time. And unfortunately, you're going to have a longer cooking time with a carrot than you are with a pea, and they're going to cook unevenly. So your carrots might come out not cooked and your peas might come out kind of mushy. So really think about how big is this vegetable, how long is it going to take to cook, and if you're unsure, just look it up. So we've talked about sort of your base layer of flavor. That's, creating a mirepoix or sofrito or searing your meat, using those vegetables or the seared meat to really create a nice base flavor. Then the next layer is usually going to be some sort of a liquid like a broth or a coconut milk. You can use water, but you're going to want to add salt to that water. Then you're going to add in sort of the main ingredients, whether that's beans or meat or grains or vegetables. And then to finish it off, every good cook uses good salt. So you want to use a flaky salt, and we like to add a zest of lemon or lime. You can also do a zest of cheese if you eat dairy. These things just kind of add that final layer of flavor. Now, if you're not making a soup and you're making something like a roasted carrots or a roasted chicken, that's where the sauces really come in handy, because we use them as the base flavor. So you marinate your chicken with our romesco or our harissa or our chimichurri or our tahini, and then you finish off the flavor by adding a drizzle of it. The way that they cook is like a little deeper and a little roastier, and then the way that they are when they're just out of the pouch raw, they're definitely like a little brighter. So you have different layers of flavor, and that's why we made the sauces the way we made them. One of the most secret sort of amazing chef tips that I can give you is something called the Maillard reaction. That's the difference between when you get those roasted vegetables that are almost kind of caramelized on the outside, super tender, kind of golden, a little brown, versus just sort of like a boiled asparagus. And what happens when you roast something at high heat is that there's this amazing chemical reaction that kind of creates sugar. And so whether you take asparagus and throw it under the broiler for a couple minutes, or you take an acorn squash and you roast it at 425 for like 45 minutes, you're really creating deep flavor. And then if you just want to puree those things or add them into your stir fry, again, you're adding little layers of flavor. One of the reasons why we created our sauces is because sometimes you don't feel like doing all the hard work about mincing your garlic or your herbs or roasting your peppers. So all of our sauces can be used as on top sauces, but they can also be used to build that flavor from the bottom. So for example, the chimichurri can be used in lieu of chopping alliums at the beginning, and you can use that as your sort of like, step in for sofrito. Our harissa has all these different peppers and cumin and cardamom and deep spices. So just adding a bit of that to a pot before you add in some tomatoes or other vegetables creates all of that beautiful seasoning that happens when you have warm spices like cumin and cardamom. Our romesco is a bunch of different roasted peppers with roasted garlic. So it really adds like deep toasted flavor, like a real savory punch to anything that you're making. We like to use it as a marinade, and we also like to use it as a finisher, like a condiment on top. The gingery miso sauce is a really good substitute if you don't know what to do with ginger and sesame oil and miso. We've made this really perfect blend so that you don't have to do the work of mixing and buying all those different ingredients. So there you have it. One of the keys to feeling more confident and joyful in the kitchen is knowing that you're gonna make something packed with flavor that you're gonna feel proud of every time you cook. I hope these tips and tricks on building flavor were helpful. If so, please don't forget to subscribe to see all of our future cooking videos. To learn more about our sauces and see all the different recipes that you can be making with them, be sure to click the link below. As always, thank you for watching and cook happy.